And we are back to What Did AI Say at VickyL-4AI on YouTube. Thank you so very much for coming back to the podcast. As always, gratitude is the attitude. Let's go ahead and jump right into today's question. This episode is number 88. And what did we ask AI? What is the difference between racism and bigotry? Okay, completely know why I asked that question. Okay, what was ChatGPT's answer? Okay, and just let me forewarn you, I could be wrong, but I get the feeling that ChatGPT may not, go in depth about this because this again is knowledge that is usually kept from us. So let's see what they actually say. Okay, core difference, term, definition, scope. We're going to start with racism. Prejudice, discrimination, or unequal treatment based specifically on race or ethnicity. First of all, it's not an or there. That should be and. So prejudice, discrimination, and I know why they said or unequal treatment. Okay, I get that, but I'm still gonna say and. Based specifically on race or ethnicity. Narrow, focused on race. Hence the word racism. Focused on race. Now, ChatGPT is going to give you a little brief description about bigotry. Okay. Bigotry, intolerance, or prejudice against people based on any characteristic. So let's make sure that we understand this. Bigotry, intolerance, or prejudice against people based on any characteristic. For example, religion, gender, nationality, sexuality, politics, etc., etc. So, racism, due to the word race, specifically focuses on race or ethnicity. It's narrow focus. Bigotry is the intolerance or prejudice against people based on any characteristic. And the examples that they give are religion, gender, nationality, sexuality, politics, etc. Broad covers many forms of bias. So racism is narrow, bigotry is broad. Key points. Racism is a type of bigotry. So that's what you need to remember. Bigotry is the umbrella. Racism is underneath that umbrella. Okay? So racism is a type of bigotry. All racism is bigotry, but not all bigotry is racism. As they already told us, bigotry can be religion, gender, nationality, sexuality, politics. None of those examples had anything to do with race specifically. So that is true. Bigotry, there we go. All racism is bigotry, but not all bigotry is racism. Bigotry is the umbrella term. Includes racism, sexism, homophobia, religious intolerance, etc. So they use the umbrella term too. So bigotry is the umbrella term, and underneath that umbrella, they have racism, sexism, homophobia, religious intolerance, etc. Racism is race specific, involves beliefs or actions that treat people as inferior or superior based on race. Some of the examples are Refusing to hire someone because of their skin color. So that's an example of racism. Bigotry, the non-racial bigotry, is disliking someone solely because of their religion or sexual orientation. That's non-racial bigotry. In short, bigotry is general intolerance. Racism is intolerance specifically due to race. There's a factor here, and that's the end of ChatGPT's thing, and that's the end of ChatGPT's answer to the question. An important factor that they forget here is that racism also has to do with being able to develop systems that keep people down, that keep a certain group of people down. That is a key component in racism that ChatGPT did not mention. So let's go ahead and look at Deepseek's answer and see if they mention it. Now this is getting interesting to see if that AI mentions it. I don't want to say they because I don't believe that AI has any type of sentient abilities, but I know that there are people out there who believe all kind of things. Okay, now we're going to go to Deepseek's answer, and just in case you forgot the question, let me by all means repeat it. What is the difference between racism and bigotry? Remember, this is Deepseek, the Chinese AI. This is their answer. This is an excellent question, as the terms are often used interchangeably but have distinct meanings. The simplest difference is scope. Bigotry is the broader category, while racism is a specific form of it. Okay, ChatGPT told us that. So bigotry is the broader category, while racism is a specific form of the category of bigotry. Okay, we're going to start with bigotry. Bigotry is intolerance of any person or group with different characteristics. The examples they give is religion, nationality, sexual orientation, etc. A bigot holds rigid beliefs that their own group is superior. A bigot holds rigid beliefs that their own group is superior. Racism is a specific type of bigotry, the belief that race determines human traits and capacities, and that one race is inherently superior to others. Crucially, racism also includes the power to enforce this prejudice through systemic discrimination. Yes, Deepseek got it. Let me repeat that. Racism is a specific type of bigotry, the belief that race determines human traits and capacities, and that one race is inherently superior to others. Crucially, racism also includes the power to enforce this prejudice through systemic discrimination. Now, that right there is why people use the term racism incorrectly. Other minorities cannot be racist if they don't have power to enforce their prejudice through systemic discrimination. That is key. And as you notice, that key point was not mentioned in ChatGPT's answer. So just know that. Now, people in minority groups can be bigots, but without that key factor in the racism, they can't be racist. If they don't have the power to enforce their prejudice onto the others through systemic discrimination, they can't be racist. Okay, let's continue because I got off on a tangent there. But I cannot believe that ChatGPT decided to leave that very important point out. Okay, that last point about systemic power is the key distinction many scholars make under this framework. Even scholars make that distinction. Prejudice is a negative attitude. A bigot has prejudice. Racism equals prejudice plus systemic power. So a marginalized group can be prejudiced or bigoted toward a dominant group. For example, a black person holding a negative stereotype about white people. Go ahead, Deepseek. Go ahead, because now they're giving us an example, and this is a major example that people are always arguing about. So let me say this again. Prejudice is a negative attitude. A bigot has prejudice. Racism is prejudice and systemic power. So a marginalized group can be prejudiced or bigoted toward a dominant group. For example, a black person holding a negative stereotype about white people. But that would not be called racism in this academic sense because they lack the institutional power to enforce that prejudice across society. That person would, however, be a bigot. Do we get it? Do we get it? Okay. In everyday language, people often call any racial prejudice racism. But for a precise academic distinction, all racism is a form of bigotry. Not all bigotry is racism. Bigotry against someone for their religion or sexual orientation is not racism unless race is also the basis. Okay, let me tell you, this Chinese AI Deepseek, they are so always on point that I'm just, I'm glad. I tell everybody, if you're going to use AI, make sure you use more than one and one from more than one country. Because a lot of times Chatgpt is not going to, depending on our conditioning, Chatgpt is not going to go all in on certain topics. And I believe it's the same for Deepseek. Depending on Chinese conditioning, Deepseek's not going to go all in. But when it comes to them talking about one country talking about another country, they're usually going to tell the truth. That's just how that is. So I thought that was fascinating. And I just want to go over this one more time because let me tell you, the times that I've heard so many people claim that minority groups or people in minority groups are racist without the power, it is not the case. They can be bigots, but if they don't have the power to affect the people they are bigoted against on a systemic level, they can't be racist. Okay, so let me just read this one more time because I truly do love how they broke this down. This is, again, the part of Deepseek's answer about the difference between racism and bigotry. So prejudice is a negative attitude. A bigot has prejudice. Racism equals prejudice plus systemic power. So a marginalized group can be prejudiced or bigoted toward a dominant group. For example, a black person holding a negative stereotype about white people, but that would not be called racism in this academic sense because they lack the institutional power to enforce that prejudice across society. That person would, however, be a bigot. In every language, people often call any racial prejudice racism, but for a precise academic distinction, all racism is a form of bigotry. Not all bigotry is racism. Bigotry against someone for their religion or sexual orientation is not racism unless race is also the basis. Okay, so how does any of that have to do with our everyday life? The reason that I asked that question to begin with was because there's something going on online where people are getting into the discussion of racism and bigotry. And we know through Chatgpt and Deepseek, the differences. Bigotry is the umbrella that racism falls under, along with, you know, religious discrimination, sexual preference discrimination, etc., etc. A person in a minority group cannot be racist if they don't have the power to inflict the people that they're racist against, if they don't have the power to affect systems that keep them disadvantaged. And that is the truth of it. So hopefully this helps people to better understand the difference between racism and bigotry. Okay, moving right along. And this is going so quickly. This is awesome. Okay, what is our positive saying for today? I'm hoping this is positive. I try to keep them all positive. Let's see if I even know where it came from. Okay, this one says from Wayne Dyer, who is a motivational author. I don't know a lot about him, but I heard this saying. I liked it, so I looked it up to see who said it. Okay, so change the lens and the reflection must also change. So basically, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Okay. Yeah, that works. So let me repeat that one more time. Wayne Dyer. Change the lens and the reflection must also change. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Life for me is about experiences and consistently learning about myself, my environment, and the world that I live in. I feel as though if I'm not doing that, what is the point of me being here? I mean, that's where I'm at. And I've had many a year to get to this understanding. Many a year, many an experience, many a difficulty. And that's where I'm at. If I'm not learning more about myself, more about my surrounding community, more about the world that I'm in, more about different cultures, more about different people. Why am I here? What am I supposed to do on my journey of this life? And I feel as though I'm supposed to do what we're all supposed to do, which is make this place a better place while we're here as best we can in our own way. So that's truly how I feel about this thing I call life. So thank you so very much for giving me over 19 minutes of your time. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next episode. We the people have the power. Peace.